So, testimonial section. Wheel of Time spoilers changed my life. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Wheel of Time, but I didn't. I thought I knew how to pronounce Nalisian, but then I realized it was Nalishon. Thank you, Wheel of Time spoilers.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
You know what other city is pretty walkable? Abu Dar. Where
Nice segue.
our protagonists find themselves in Chapter 52, Weaves of the Power.
Perfect segue. And our symbol is the dice.
I wonder why.
It's a very Matt chapter. Weaves of the Power. I mean, that's a couple of things, actually. There's a lot of Weaves of the Power going on here, between the masks of mirrors and the healing weaves.
Well, and we see the kin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The healing weaves of the kin. And then the whole, like, inverting weaves, mask of mirrors, plus hiding your ability to channel. Yeah, all of that.
This isn't the first time that we're seeing that, though, right?
No, but it's one of the, we're seeing it used all together. Before we saw it used on Moghedien, but the girls never used it for themselves. So this was all done on Moghedien to hide her in Saladar.
Yeah. So this is the first time we're seeing it, like, in practice by our heroines.
Yeah, the first time they've really found the need to hide, because they didn't really need to hide in Saladar. And this is the first time that they are sort of out in public lands.
The men sitting around the table in the common room of the Wandering Woman were mainly local. Those who wore the long vests sported it in bright silk, often brocaded, over pale shirts with wide sleeves. Garnets or pearls adorned finger rings. Hoop earrings were gold, not gilded, and moonstones and sapphires sparkled on the pommels of curved knives stuck through belts. Several men had silk coats slung about their shoulders, with a chain of silver or gold strung between the narrow lapels, embroidered with flowers or animals. The coats looked odd, really, too small to put on, never meant for anything but a cape. But their wearers carried long, narrow swords as well as the curved dagger, and seemed equally willing to use either, for a wrong word, a wrong look, or because they happened to feel like it. It was a varied crowd altogether. 2 Mirandian merchants with curled mustaches and those ridiculous little beards on the point of the chin, and a Damani with hair below his shoulders and thin mustaches who wore a gold bracelet, a close-fitting gold necklace, and a large pearl in his left ear. A dark Athan Mier in a bright green coat with tattooed hands and 2 knives thrust into a red sash, and a Terraboner with a transparent veil covering thick mustaches that almost hid his mouth, and a number of outlanders who might have been from anywhere. But every man had a pile of coins in front of him, though the size did vary. So close to the Terracin Palace, the Wandering Woman attracted patrons with gold to spare. Rattling the 5 dice in the leather cup, Matt spun them out on the table. They stopped with 2 crowns, 2 stars, and a cup showing. A fair toss, no better. His luck ran in waves, and at the moment the wave seemed low, meaning he won no more than half his tosses at most. So far he had managed to lose 10 in a row, an unusual run for him at any time. The dice passed to a blue-eyed outlander, a hard, narrow-faced man who seemed to have plenty of coin to fling about despite his plain brown coat. And who is this blue-eyed outlander? So, I think, like, one of the first notes that I have about this chapter is what happens right here. Well, let's see. The blue-eyed man's toss rolled across the table, showing that he won. And then Matt is like, blood and ashes. Next, the daughter of the 9 moons is going to walk in and claim me. And the guy's like... Matt's like,
he
do
waited
you know the
until
name?
he took a sip of his beer to say that. just beer goes psh, all over the place.
My dog's looking at me like, what the fuck? Yep. And the guy's like, my punch went down the wrong way. What name was that?
In that soft, slurring accent.
So, I know everyone says, and like even Jordan himself was like, yeah, like a Texan accent. But at no point have I ever felt comfortable reading any Sean thing in a Texan, like, Southern accent and was like, oh, that totally sounds like what the Shan-chan should sound like. It
Yeah,
just does, like, no
Nope.
way. Like,
Doesn't
going
work
to
in
the
my
show
head.
for a second, yeah, like, they can't do that in the show. I know a lot of people will be like, it's a Texan accent, but it really shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be.
Really should not be. It's
I think what he was trying, when Jordan said a Texas accent is an example, I think he was trying to say is an example of a slow, slurred type of speech, not that the Shan-chan sound that way. Does that make sense? That it's more of a generic, like, not that they sound like this with a twang in their voice, but
like,
when he would say, my punch went down the wrong way. You know?
But yeah, a
It's
Mississippi drawl.
Yeah, there's a drawl for it, but not necessarily a twang.
Yeah, I know what you like. There's like this kind of southern twang, like real deep south. Like,
Right.
I told her she shouldn't go to the store at night, but she did. Like, no, I don't imagine that either, like that twang. But I still just can't like slurring. I just imagine a completely different accent altogether, like almost like a Spanish accent, if you will. Like,
Sure.
in TV shows, when I've heard of a non-Spanish actor or actress like doing a sort of Spanish accent, like that's kind of, or maybe it's just like the sound. Maybe it's not necessarily like slurring. Ugh, I don't know. I just, whatever I hear in the show, I'll be like, okay, yep, that'll work. Sure, whatever.
Well, and for me, it's the Michael Kramer and Kit Redding clenched teeth. Voice
see,
that
and
do.
is that the voice that you just did?
Yeah.
Because I still haven't heard the audiobook, so.
Okay. Yeah, they have a very distinct way of talking in the Shan-chan accent, and it's very much like, my punch went down the wrong way, and man said in a soft, slurring accent. It almost sounds like they're just like talking with the teeth clenched shut.
What name was that? My punch went down the wrong way. Like, it just kind of like blend, the words like blend together.
Yeah, yeah. I also want to do like a Dracula. Blah, my punch went down the wrong way.
Yeah.
One.
All right,
Sean
it's canon.
It's just the count.
One. Uh-oh. Is that going to be a copyright thing? Something like a Nigerian accent where the vowels and syllable stress is different enough to...
Two rockin'. Three rockin'.
Oh, God. Oh, Radia, help.
She's not here. She can't help
What
you
do
now.
So, Daughter of the Nine Moons, and this guy's like, is he talking about the Empress? May she live forever?
The Daughter of the Nine Moons?
Is that what did I say?
The Empress.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Empress is not actually the Daughter of the Nine Moons, right?
Not yet. Right?
Because, Tuon is the Daughter of the Nine Moons, not the Empress.
Right now, but later doesn't she become the Empress?
Well, sure.
I see. So you're saying when she becomes the Empress, then someone else is the Daughter of the Nine Moons?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Right. Yeah. It's like, the Prince of Wales.
Yeah.
She becomes, because she's from the court of the Nine Moons. And so the Empress is the Empress of the Nine Moons, and the Princess is the Daughter of the Nine Moons. But why that throws them off so much is anyone from Shan-chan would never say it, because she's under the veil. And anyone not from Shan-chan shouldn't know it. And so it's like, it's incompletely...
So it would be like a muggle saying Voldemort in front of a witch or wizard that they didn't even know was a witch or wizard.
Exactly.
It'd be like, what? Like, next thing I know, Voldemort's gonna walk in and there's Harry like, what the fuck did you say? Oh, sorry. He who should not be named. What? Yeah, okay, moving on.
I love how the girls are evading both Vannon and Matt, because that's like the top two in Spymaster. Like, if they're not using magic, there is no way they are getting out of there without being spotted. Doesn't matter the costume, doesn't matter what.
Yeah. I mean, even like Tom, though, too. Right? Like, because Tom's in there with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely Tom is in there with them. But, like, they're evading him easily, because all they do is they put on another face.
Right. So, and that's the only way, you're saying, like, that's the only way that they could get by them.
Absolutely, because, like, if they were just trying to use makeup or whatever, like, they'd be spotted easily. But Tom looks him right in the face and goes, "Oh yeah, that's not the girls."
Right. Well, and with Matt's luck too, if they were, well, I mean, we'll see later in the chapter with Matt's luck, he walks right by them. He's looking for him and he walks right by him, but he doesn't know because, they're wearing more than makeup. They have face off.
It's kind of amazing, considering there's no way, not with the power, or not without or with mundane ways, to discover that they're wearing these costumes. You'd have to actually touch them to discover that they're fake.
Yeah, wait, what do you mean? Like, is that a thing that I don't remember? Like, if you touch someone who has the Mask of Mirrors, you can see what they actually look like?
Well, because it doesn't affect anything. So if they're if their hair is longer or something, that's why they keep the hair the same length.
Yeah.
Because that way you're not touching invisible hair or trying to grab their hair and there's nothing there.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute, if Matt touches them, then, he can just see the real person. I don't remember that. I see what you're saying, though.
I mean, I feel or if their nose is longer, right, and you touch the nose.
Right, I picture a blind person, feeling someone's face for their features.
Right.
But you're saying like that, yeah.
Or, back when Lanfear was Kaylee, right? I'm guessing she didn't hug anybody.
Yeah. Be like, wow, you're a lot skinnier when I hug you.
So, disappear into that illusion?
Yeah, makes sense. Also, I mean, at this point, I don't think Matt would be touching any ladies, because he gets stabbed.
Is he stabbed?
Oh, no, I'm just saying, in Abu Dar, you get stabbed.
Oh, yeah, the lady will stab you.
Yeah, so we see, if anyone hasn't traveled to Abu Dar yet, and you're here with us now, Abu Dar is scary AF, and you get stabbed.
Yep.
One thing that I did notice, well, not notice, but, take note of was, they talk about in this chapter how Elaine and Nynaeve and, Birgit and Avienda, their disguises are of old women, and the marriage knives that they wear indicates that they are widows and that they're not interested in getting remarried, because married women and widows rejecting marriage are challenged less, in knife fights. Almost if you are of marriageable age and you are an eligible bachelorette, it's almost like the animal kingdom, girl gonna stab you so that, she can have more men.
We were just hanging out with Fail and Min together for the first time, so I can see where, that's that sort of clashing, you're after my man, pull out the knives, stab each other, right.
Almost, in the animal kingdom where you see, males fighting over a female, this is, the opposite, females fighting over men, so if you're, single and ready to mingle, they're oh, I will stab you, because if you're gone, then I have a better chance of getting a hot guy. I just thought of it. That's what I thought of when I read that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just competition, are you stepping in my space? Also, I think, someone who's older, well, first of all, for a grandma to survive, to have gray hair, bitch has probably stabbed a few people.
Yeah. She goes stabby stabby, you don't want to stabby her.
I'm like, okay, I'm actually gonna be wary of someone with gray hair in this society. Right?
Yeah, that is true, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a matter of, respect for your elders in a serious, please don't kill me way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe just, a general, respect for elders, but you make a very good point. Respect for elders, because if they're still alive and kicking in Abu Dar, especially in the Rahad, well, there's probably a reason they survived.
It's like old man strength.
Oh, yeah.
You go up against these old men, but it turns out they spent their whole lives, working in the field or working in a factory, and, they might look weak, but they can still, out bench press any, keyboard warrior any day of the week.
Yeah.
So you see these old men doing these incredible feats of strength, and it's well, they just worked their whole lives. So who is the pretty young lady sitting with Mistress Anon?
So, at first when I was rereading this yesterday, I was like, oh shit, it's that woman who heals the guy later, but different color dress. So, this woman is wearing a gray dress with a red belt. And later on, Asra is kind of a, I wouldn't want to be called Asra if that was my name. Maybe
She's
Asra?
wearing a blue dress, right?
Azra. Well, let's say Azra. That's pretty.
I think that's how
she's wearing a blue dress.
Right.
With a red belt. So I honestly don't remember, I haven't gotten this far, I think, in the next book, in my third reread. Please don't judge. The red belt is a kin thing, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Azra is wearing a blue dress. And then, well, I mean, could it be the same girl? So the woman described with Mistress Anan has black eyes and black hair. And then later on, Elaine says that, like, Azra looks Domani. And that's like a similar, well, I mean, it could be a similar look. Like, Domani are darker featured, right? Darker hair, darker eyes.
Right.
Generally.
And that's why she says, like, she was not tan, she was just slightly darker skinned.
Yeah.
When she sees her later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wrote down, like, that Elaine senses that she's really strong and that she's Domani.
Mm-hmm. But, so my assumption is this woman is just representing, Mistress Anan's connection to the kin, that she frequently has the kin in, that, like, she is a friend of the kin, and as always, a former Aes Sedai who knows all about them.
Agreed. I think it's just showing that, like, okay, she's talking to this woman, wearing a red belt over her dress, so, yeah, agreed. Like, she obviously has some connection to this woman, then when you see a woman later channeling with a red belted dress, you're like, Mistress Anan?
What? Yeah. No, exactly. That's the whole connection. And of course, the idea that finding she who is no longer points you to the Bowl of the Winds. The Bowl of the Winds is held by the kin. Mistress Anan is she who's no longer an Aes Sedai. That's what she's no longer.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think I was on this episode, but you were, like, an episode that I just recently heard, you were talking about that prophecy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Yes.
This would be the time to talk about it, yeah.
Yes.
Matt definitely makes himself a lord, because odds.
Because it's convenient. I noticed that too. He's like, well, I did it was a simple calculation of numbers.
And also, I noticed this is the 10-day, one of the things we've been getting is a lot of 10 days. The last 10 days, X has happened. The last 10 days, Y has happened. So I think we're syncing up all the characters at the end of the 10 days to, like, right before.
Okay.
Well, it was actually to Rand's kidnapping.
Right, which just happened.
Yeah. So this is syncing up to that moment. So this is essentially the day that Rand is getting kidnapped. Is sort of how I'm syncing those all up in my head. So you think that this day that we're reading about now is the day that he's kidnapped? I do. Yeah.
Is there any kind of indication? Like, I don't remember while I was rereading yesterday. That, like, is there any moment where it's like, that's the moment?
I didn't see one, but let's keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I didn't take note of anything. I was gonna say maybe, like, when Egwene is talking to Logain, and, like, because Logain's talking about Rand and the amnesty. I don't know if maybe it was, like, around that moment, but really that seems to happen.
No, there's no, like, pattern-wide fluctuation that suddenly causes everyone to be like, oh, Rand's been captured.
Yeah, like, I got an itch.
Right. He needs me now. No, I don't see any of that.
Yeah. No, me neither.
So one of Mistress Anne's daughters, Myrelle, has been babysitting Olver, and now she's gone from wanting boys to probably not wanting boys.
Right. And he says that too, like, she's not going to want any sons anymore.
Uh-huh.
Because you have a mini-Matt.
Totally. And this is the beginning of mini-Matt, I think. There's a lot of... Oliver gave him an accusatory look, but a moment later, he whipped around to give Myrelle an insolent grin he had picked up from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere.
He was never going to be a handsome lad. All right.
Thanks, Jordan. Why don't you rub that in a couple of more times? Does Banal Alcine have a big nose, too? Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, poor Olver. Ugly little boy.
Ugly little boy. He is really good at riding the horse, though. And he's been riding Wind. Right,
because who was it that put him on top? Oh.
Nilesian.
Uh-huh. How you say that?
Nilesian.
Yeah, one more time?
Nail-E-Cian.
Yeah, so I have always said Nalishan.
Mm-hmm.
Because S-E-A-N is Sean. I actually wrote that down in my notes. I was like, I need to point this out because the last episode that I heard, like, that you released, you were saying Nalesian, and I was like, it's Nalishan. Like, S-E-A-N is Sean, right? Who agrees with
me? I mean, it's Sean Chan. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm also telling you how it's pronounced in the audiobooks.
I was going to say, is that how they say it? Okay, well, I am starting a petition to say that it is
Nail Sean. Nail Sean. Can I say nail? Nail Sean. Nail Sean.
No. Yeah, Sean. Is Sean in Irish? Well, I don't know if it's Sean in Irish, but Sean with like an accent mark over one of them letters is pronounced Sean in Irish. Not that I'm Irish, I'm just saying. I have a cousin, Sean, Sean, and it's Sean. And when I was a little girl, it always bothered me because I saw Sean and I was like, scene.
Yep.
And then my grandma was like, no, it's Sean. And I was like, scene.
Well, and my name is pretty close, like Seth, Sean, like they're right next to each other on all the lists. So I'd always see Sheen, Seth. And so, Scene? Yeah, they start out the same way.
Sheath. Your name is Sheath. Also, Marguerite's like, but there are other languages, like Sean Bean.
Oh my god, Sean Bean is just... I never noticed that it's...
Yeah, it's so messed up.
It's so messed up.
We know.
I never...
Scene Bean? Scene Bon? Who knows?
Scene Bon, yeah. Sean Bean. Wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's why he always is killed in his movies and shows. That's why. Because...
No, that's totally fair. The man deserves to die.
Because his name is actually Scene Bon, and no one will listen. So he's like, you know what? I'm dying.
I really hope Scene Bon is in Wheel of Time. As Ingtar.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Sorry. Ignart.
Richard Charpey. Anyways, okay, so Nalashan put him on a horse and was like, here, you're little, you can be a jockey.
Also, just probably trying to, like, keep the boy busy, right? Can you imagine babysitting a child for the first time? Like, what do? Well, I go down to the horses and bet. I like horses. Come on, kid.
I said, I know you were a teacher, but have you never babysat before?
Oh, yeah, totally babysat.
Oh, okay. I was like, for a second it sounded there like you were never a babysitter, like maybe just a teacher. So, yeah, my 4-year-old nephew will never be, on this podcast with me, that's for sure.
So, now I had a question for you. Friel chucked him under the chin in my book.
Yeah, you don't know what, like when you take your knuckle and you dig it up the chin and then you like pull it out. I don't know how to, almost like, like in Shakespeare when like you like thumb someone. Wait, is it Shakespeare? Or that's biting your thumb. Okay. It's also kind of like a bad gesture for Italians. Like you take your hand and you like flick the bottom of your chin. Yeah.
But you do that to somebody else?
Like, it's like that, but like, you take your knuckle and you just like kind of like tap under their chin and you're like, you're cute. Like you're just like, oh, like you're cute. And you just take like your pointer finger, you like bend it so that your knuckle's like pointing out and you just like lift, like you just like quickly like lift up their chin underneath and you're just like, eh.
Yeah, here's looking at you, kid.
Yeah. You're just like, and you just like clip them under the chin. That's what I think it is.
If you were hitting them hard, it would be a punch, but you're just like rocking them back a little bit,
If you're hitting them hard, it would be abuse, but it's over, so. Okay.
Well, you're not, mostly.
Yeah. So, I know, in one of the recent episodes, you were talking about how, like, Narum is just like a good old servant.
Lugubrious servant.
I almost looked up the meaning of that word, because what?
It's a fun word.
Lugubriously. My lord is going out. Did I say that lugubriously?
Yes, you did. My lord is going out.
Lord is going out.
In that coat, I fear there's a wine stain from last night on the shoulder. I would have removed it if my lord had not donned the garment in haste this morning, and a gash in the sleeve from a knife, I believe. That would have been mended.
That was very lugubrious. You kind of sound like riffraff.
I trust my lord not to try and get blood on it today. Bloodstains are very difficult to remove.
Right? You know who riffraff is, right?
Totally! Know exactly who that is.
From Rocky Horror.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep, totally.
I was like, well, I mean, not everyone knows it, but I was just being a jerk about it. That's what it sounded like.
No, that's fair. Once you said Rocky Horror, I just didn't... Riff-raff is a common enough word that I was, like, trying to think of a cartoon or something.
You sound like you're riff-raff on the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it sounded like, what's his name? Richard, help me out here, Richard. The writer of the show. Yeah, riff-raff. Right? Yeah, he sounded like riff-raff, see? Mm-hmm, told you.
I'll go with it.
My lord is going out.
Yeah, totally. The servant from that fucking, yeah.
Yeah. With the, hump.
So wait, now in my headcanon is, Niram is now Riffraff from
Oh my God.
Rocky Horror Picture Show from now on. He's just, like, hanging around Matt, like, cleaning up after him.
I trust my lord will at least try not to get blood on it today. Blood stains are very difficult to remove.
Very Rocky Horror Picture Show,
It's
definitely.
astounding. Time is fleeting, or on a wheel. Okay,
Let's do the time warp again. It's very appropriate.
I was
for
in
the
that
real time.
musical. Don't tempt me. Oh, I wanted to comment, and it's so sad that Aradia's not here. So on this same page, right? So, Matt's like, Olver. Where does he get it from? At his age. And then it says, as he came abreast of Nalashon. And I was like, abreast! More breasts!
Come on.
Here's more breasts!
No, that's not what that is.
I was rereading, and I was like, oh my God. A breast. Always talking about breasts. Even in a point of view of a male character with no women in sight.
Listen, I don't think that's appropriate as I cross my legs across my penis.
Right? Yeah, I love that. In the past couple episodes, you're like, he brutally crossed his legs over his dick.
Yeah.
So I know, like, a breast is, like, an actual word that has an actual meaning that has barely anything to do with breasts. But imagine if it said, as he came a penis of Nalashon. Like, what, like, a breast? Like, so, like, your chest area is close, right?
Right.
So why not, as he came a penis? Well, your penis areas are also kind of close when your breast area is close.
I would say he came a dickin'. He came within a dickin'.
No. As he... That sounds different. Just hold on, right? As he came a dickin' a Nalashon, the man said.
So the spear, so he goes out, and Matt doesn't bring the Ashendari with him, because idiots want to fight it, which makes sense to me, because, like, cool new weapon, I want to fight that, right?
Right.
It's very long.
Typical men, fighting over a long weapon.
Everyone wants to try out the long spear.
They just want to get a feeling for that long spear, and how it would feel inside their body.
Okay, now they're going too far.
So, when they're talking about how they snuck away, like the girl snuck away, Vannon says, so they're, we'll look across the river in the Rahad, like, right, in, like, the bad area of town. And Vannon's like, Lady Elaine would never go anywhere like that. And I'm thinking, like, so he has a good impression of Elaine, right? She's a princess or a queen.
A proper lady, yeah.
She knows what she's talking about, and she's so proper and everything. And he's like, Elaine would never go anywhere like that. Like, what? I'm sorry? Like, who are you to think that she wouldn't go there? Like, she wouldn't get her feet dirty?
Oh, she's been playing him hard for a while now.
Right. I just mean, like, it was more of, like, the audacity, like, to think that she wouldn't go there.
Right. No, and Matt's like, well, they'd stand out, so we're not going to bother looking if we don't, like, see them. They wouldn't dress down or get mud on their faces. They have a very low opinion about how high the women consider themselves.
Right. They just kind of assume, like they're not going to get their hands dirty, but they also have no idea what they're capable of when it comes to the power, so...
That's true. There's a bit of a gap in knowledge there.
They're pretty naive.
This also, so I don't know if you've heard my Vannon is Demandred theory.
Yes.
Yeah, so this comes back to that in that, like, this sudden shift in his opinion and being like, oh, don't go to the Riad. Well, Demandred would know they're searching the Riad, and so he would be trying to keep Matt away from them.
Agreed. But at the same time, like, I mean, does he think, like, they're really that incapable of keeping themselves safe? Where, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, does he really think that Matt would do that good of a job of keeping them safe compared to what they could do themselves, I guess? I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. Like, he's really that, like, he thinks they're gonna die there unless Matt goes,
If only because Forsaken know about Deviren.
True. So, like, they'll definitely be safe if he goes, is what you're...
Right. Like, we've seen that, like, Ashamael and other Forsaken have seen Matt and Perrin as threats, maybe not on an equal level with Rand, but certainly as threats. Grendel especially spends quite a bit of time trying to wipe out Perrin. It's actually surprising that no Forsaken, Forsaken attaches itself to Egwene, to Rand, we sort of get Moghedien and Nynaeve, to Perrin certainly, we've got Grendel, to Rand, you've got Shamael, or, Moradin, but no one really attaches themselves to Matt. There's no Forsaken who's, hanging out with him. Whereas I think it makes a lot of sense to have Demandred in the band, trying to maybe take that over.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, that makes, a really good point. So that strengthens your argument that he is Demandred.
Yeah, that or Tamanis, I think, is also a really good candidate for Demandred.
I was gonna say, maybe Matt's luck kind of influences that, too. Why... I mean, if you were arguing against him being a Forsaken, maybe you could say, Matt's luck would, help him in keeping away any kind of bad influence.
Sure.
They're trying to get across to the other side of the river, to Rahad, and then we move to Elaine.
So he's thinking about how the girls would never be on the other side of the river, and then we flash to the girls on the other side of the river.
Right. Which is very cinematic, if you will.
And also, as I've said many times, Jordan loves to prove his characters wrong, have them assert something must absolutely be true, and then immediately flash to the opposite of whatever it is they asserted to be true.
Right, and that is kind of, comedic, though, too.
It is, definitely. It's one of Jordan's favorite little comedy shifts. But he likes to do it, too, in, people's heads. I won't shout at you, Nynaeve shouted. Or, someone should beat some sense into those fools. They're using too much violence.
Yeah. I will kill you if you die. That kind of thing.
Anyways. With Nynaeve, that might actually be a threat, because she'll bring you back just to kill you.
No, she says that to Elaine, though, at some point, doesn't she?
Yep.
Elaine, I swear to God, if you die, I'll kill you. Doesn't she say that?
Yeah, she totally does.
At some
totally
point. Speaking of Nynaeve, yeah. So we find out that the girls have been looking for the Bowl of the Winds for 10 days.
Yep. This is the 11th.
10 days.
10 days. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 6 or 5 stories tall?
Oh, I don't remember. You're asking the wrong person. Where's Aradia?
It is 6. And the reason
6.
I remember that is because we were looking it up, and the title of the chapter where they find the bowl is called 6 Stories.
I remember that episode. That was a while ago, though, wasn't it?
That was a while ago. But
yeah. I remember you guys
right,
discussing that.
Nynaeve is wrong.
Well, Nynaeve is never wrong, so shut your mouth. It's 6 stories, like Nynaeve said. They've been looking for it, and it, smells bad, and there's flies, and oh my God, it's disgusting here, but here we are looking for the Bowl of the Winds, because we must. And, okay, so here's a question that I had. So this building that Elaine and Brigida go into, they go up to whatever floor it was. Elaine's they went up to the whatever floor where the storeroom would have been, and there's a woman sitting there sharpening a knife.
Mm-hmm.
So was that it? And they were just scared away by that woman? I don't remember. Was that it? So, did they find the right building, but, they just walked away because there was a woman there? No? Okay.
No, because, the right building, the top floor will be full of, it's just a storeroom. So they have to go up to the top floor of every building that has 6 stories and check and see if that's the right building with the top floor as a storeroom. So they go up to the top of this building and they just see a woman sitting there and okay, no storeroom here. Sorry, we're in your fucking house.
Oh, okay. So I just read that as it sounded like this woman was guarding a storeroom. That's how I read it. And I was like I said, I don't remember. So was that it?
I didn't read it that way. I just read it as a woman stand on her roof, on the top of her building, sharpening the knife.
So yeah, so then this 6-story building is not right. So I mean, she talks a lot about how people look in this area and in this city,
mm-hmm.
and what people are like. So people are always fighting, like you said.
And they attempted to ask some people, but they ended up just stirring up a bunch of trouble. So instead of asking around now, they're just walking into buildings and sticking their head in and hoping that no one really comes. There's no doors on anything, right? Because everything's so hot And there's no, like, locks that are really going to do any good, because this is all such a, and everyth's muddy.
Right,
So, like,
yeah.
it really is just, like, I imagine it, this community of everyone just kind of running around, not necessarily you claim your space, but you don't necessarily own your house.
Yeah, I think, like, in this place, like, you have to defend what's yours.
Exactly.
Right? Including your loved ones.
Right. Right, and your home. Like, if you step away from your home, I can see someone being like, "It's mine now," and like,
yeah,
just squat.
Stab!
Yeah, because who's gonna come kick him out? Nobody.
Well, I guess unless you, like, go back and you're like, "What are you doing to my house? Stab! And then it's not theirs anymore.
You're exactly right. And here's all my buddies who also stab. And stab is very common, as we see here in this next scene.
Yeah, stab! So yeah, I mean, Elaine does talk about, like, how they're disguised. So we learn that, yeah, she used the power to put disguises on them, and disguises are easier the closer you stay to how the person really looked. So, she talks about Brigida's hair flowing down her back, and then she masks her ability to channel, which is how she runs into this kin woman without, like, the kin woman knowing who Elaine
exactly
is.
Yeah.
But still, it's really nothing new, because, like you said, like, we've seen these things before, just not really, like, in practice outside of the Little Tower.
Right. They were used on Moghedien, but this is the first time they have an opportunity to...
As Aes Sedai.
Exactly.
They're using them. Tylin gave them some shitty clothes to wear. Very nice of her.
Very nice of her. She's totally in on it. I bet they showed her the disguises, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think so. Well, I mean, Tylin is definitely helpful for them. I think the only time Tylin is a shitty person is the obvious thing,
What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, and Matt's mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tylin helps them a lot with, like, learning the culture, I guess, and, like, telling them what not to do.
Totally.
So, we just get, like, an introduction of what they've been doing for the past couple days. And I think my favorite part of this intro of what they've been doing for the past couple days is learning that Nynaeve had actually hit another woman with a stool.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, my bitch!
Of course she did. Elaine channeled a little bit to trip somebody, but Nynaeve wasn't angry, so she couldn't channel, so she had to resort to hitting somebody with a fucking stool.
I don't even care why she used a stool. It's just like, she hit a woman with a stool. I don't care if she's, like, not angry enough to channel or what. She stooled someone.
Like stooling someone, but with a stool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he got stooled.
He got schooled.
So, okay, so then they go into this building, right? And they're like, oh, sorry, wrong house.
And so, on their way out, they essentially encounter one of those street fights, one of those knife fights between two guys. And a skinny guy, I guess they start fighting inside and come running out into the street to finish the fight.
Yeah, because it says, like, they're bloody when they run out of the building.
And so everyone who passes by stops, because that's just what you do in the Riad, because entertainment isn't easy to come by. And yeah, they're just watching the fight, and of course eventually one person dies, or gets stabbed, and what we see here is Asra running to him to basically use healing.
Right, and, like, using the herbs to kind of cover it up. Because
right.
Obviously people, if they thought that she was using the power, would probably not be happy. So she's like, oh, here's some herbs just to choke you a little bit, and then I'll just use the power here, and don't mind me. Oh, the herbs didn't help? That's okay. You just swallow those.
Yeah, no, the herbs are totally... So she is... she was born in 913, which means she is quite old. She is 97.
Well, all the kin are really old, right?
A lot of them are, yeah. She is actually very weak in the one power, but her one talent is healing. She was not supposed to learn it, but she secretly copied it from Aes Sedai, and it's how she learned how to heal. So she does know Aes Sedai healing, directly from being apprentice in the White Tower.
Well, yeah, and the way Elaine describes it, she began to weave the flows of healing more deftly than Elaine could have done. So that means that she's definitely, like, very skilled with the healing weaves, not just, like, Nynaeve, I don't know, like, throwing, like, here, will this help?
No, that, and, we know she's super weak. Like, she was sent away from the White Tower for being too weak.
Asra?
Yeah.
I see. And, I mean, it does say, like, Elaine noticed that she felt very strong.
No, she felt...
Okay. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. It's just, like, one was her strength. So I was like, oh, she's strong. But then she said, like, she would have never been allowed to take the test for accepted. So, yeah, she's not strong. And healing is her strongest talent. Okay, yeah,
And that's the reality. That's exactly what happened. She went to the White Tower, and she was actually unable to... She wasn't strong enough to take the test, but while she was there, she was able to secretly learn these weaves.
Okay, yeah, definitely misread that. But, yeah, so not strong.
Yeah, and she's definitely talented in healing, right? Like, she, you know, in the same way that, just like Andrel has talent in gateways, she has the talent in healing.
Yeah.
Or there's the talent in the stretchy shield, or a bunch of those other little talents that we see.
Right. We can't all be perfect, you know.
Thanks, Full of Life.
Actually, one thing that I had written down that we, like, passed a little bit was the previous page when Elaine was talking about still, like, you know, what their days were like, and... She's like, you know, sometimes they had to stay in the palace just to clear their heads, but Vandene and Adelius, you know, they weren't finding anything either. And it says, you know, like, when people found out they were Aes Sedai, they just kind of, like, got away from them. And it says, she had seen 2 women try to stab Adelius, no doubt to rob the fool walking the Rahad in a silk dress. And by the time the Brown sister lifted the pair on flows of air and stuffed them through a window 2 floors up, there was not another person in sight. And when I reread this, I just pictured, like, a very comical, like, almost, like, cartoon anime depiction of just, like, these 2 people just, like, floating up and, like, being like, ah!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and just, like, disappearing into a little window, like, ah! Just disappearing into it. I don't know.
And Vandene and Natalie is just looking totally like mirrors. Just being like, oh my god.
These people are just like, ah!
Yeah. But it does, like, okay, blend in a little bit. Like, don't show up in silks to the ghetto.
Well, yeah. Well, they're cocky Aes Sedai. Whatever.
And they're old ladies, too. They don't really get it.
They're old ladies. Now you watch your mouth.
Yeah, well, you about to say you watch your mouth, young man?
You watch your mouth, young child. Okay, so yeah, so Azra, right, she's wearing a red belt again. Mm-hmm. And Elena's like, whoa, who is this lady? And Brigida's like, you probably shouldn't follow her, because she seems like an important person, and if you do, you might get stabbed.
And, you know, nothing to do with the Bowl of the Wind, so no point in following up on that
right.
at all.
It was almost like Elaine's Taviran, and it was like pulling her towards this woman that could maybe lead her to something they need. Mm-hmm. But Brigida, you know, I don't know what her excuse is, but she's like, blah, 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 blah. Just don't want you to get stabbed.
Which is wise, that Elaine maybe needs someone to say, please don't walk into that building or you get stabbed.
Right. And I mean, she is her warner. But I was going to say, I wonder if this moment, if Elaine had been with Aviendha, if they would have followed her and found it earlier. Because I feel like Aviendha wouldn't have, like, picked up on that. She would have been like, oh, that lady? Yeah, she can channel. Yeah, I saw that too. All right, let's go.
Because I doubt that lady's heading, like, back to the storeroom, you know? Like, I think they can. Maybe if they confronted her, they would, like...
She's probably going to the apothecary.
Right.
I don't know why I said apothecary. I'm not British. Oh, sorry, they say chemist. Who says apothecary? Whatever.
I don't think they have apothecaries in the Wheel of Time. They have herbalists and herb ladies, but...
Was that just like a Victorian thing? Like, maybe I've been watching too many period dramas.
Yeah, I think you've been watching a lot of period dramas, yeah.
Now LaShawn and Matt, and Brigida, you know, says, like, you know, never struck me before, but I think Matt is the more dangerous of those 2. A Nishar Mamaris. And I meant to Google that, but what is that? Is that it, like...
It's one of Brigida's many completely nonsensical references to an age that we don't know anything about.
Right. No, I got that part, but I didn't know if, like, we knew what it was.
No idea. Nope. Nothing. A quick Google told me that that there's no other references to that. It's just Brigida likes to make those references. RJ just like, oh, here's a fun name I had nothing to do with. I'm going to throw that in Brigida's dialogue.
Like, I'm trying to think of something to compare it to. Like, more dangerous in what way? Like, the first thing that came to mind was, like, a Casanova in Venice.
Or is that the Old Tongue, actually?
Well, yeah, right? It's the Old Tongue, no?
I think it might be messed up in my book.
Oh, why? What? Mine says N''SHAR. You mean like the inn?
No, okay, I see. And it's a Nashar in Mameris.
Yeah. So I just took that as like Nishar is something and Mameris is a place.
I'm thinking of like a fox in a hen house.
Oh, and then she does say, "I wonder what they're doing this side of the Eldar." So yeah, yeah.
So I think
That's
the Matt
good...
is the more dangerous of the two. A fox in a hen house. I wonder what they're doing this side of the Elder.
All right, canon. Next.
That's how in context, that's how I read it.
Yeah. I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
And we don't know what they are, but they're, okay, yeah.
Sure. Can someone just make something up?
I actually thought it was a misprint, because I was like, that's some weird capitalization. And I thought it was an A-N-D, and then, whatever.
Oh. Well, and then at first I thought, like, I thought maybe that was, like, old tongue word, but I was like, no, that's gotta be, like in a place.
Yeah, Nishar is probably some sort of beast in Amaris, some place that's full of vulnerable people.
What I mean, I don't know if it was just the first thing that came to your mind, but fox in a hen house, like Matt,
right?
Fox head medallion,
totally.
Fox ring.
I think it's totally deliberate.
That's gotta be what it is.
Yep.
That's it. That's what it is. I am making an executive decision right now. That is what it means.
I'm nodding.
Okay. All right, and then so they just walk right by him, and they're like, "All right, well, they didn't notice us, so."
Yeah, and this is the one day they're checking on that side, and it's like, yeah, the girls should stick out, but they're clearly well hidden in the crowd.
They're like, "What are they doing over here? Ah, what are they doing this side of the Eldar? We know that they think that we wouldn't be over here." Yeah. So they're probably like, well, hold on, like, why would they be over here looking for us? Because they wouldn't imagine we would be over here. Yeah, so then, like, Elaine's point of view ends like, that one. Nynaeve couldn't be right about 5 stories, could she?
Nope, she's not.
With your point of view switching that you said, like, Elaine did hope Egwene had found a solution. Egwene waited patiently while looking, like, yeah, okay, we were switching point of views here, we got it.
Right. Well, and again, Egwene has not found the solution because she asked the wise ones. They're asking about, can you use me to find something again? And the answer is no. No, you can. You're not doing anything wrong. There's no way.
Should have paid attention the first time.
Right. Should have counted the stories right the first time.
Right,
instead of being like, we know where it is in the city. We're done. It's like,
as my dad says, the 2 most important words in the English language: pay attention.
Wait, what was that?
What? So Egwene is talking to Logain.
Egwene waited patiently while Logain drank some more water. His tent was not so spacious as his quarters had been in Saladar, but it was still larger than most in the camp. There had to be room for the 6 sisters sitting on stools, maintaining the shield on them. Try saying that. 6 sisters sitting on stools.
6 sisters sitting on stools.
Studying Semarogs.
6 sisters sitting on... Yep, got it.
So, and this is, we learn a lot about how this custom, and I think why he goes into so much detail here about how they're holding Logain, is that we are about to apply that knowledge to how Rand is being held captive and the 6 soft points.
Yeah.
And so we're actually getting a knowledge dump here about Rand's captivity and learning about the traditions that Aes Sedai used to hold Logain captive.
So do you think at this point in the timeline, Rand has been captured?
Yes.
So Egwene is talking to Logain about Rand's amnesty, and Rand is inside the box right now.
Totally. Because this is day 11, and he was captured on day 10.
Okay. And I guess it does, like you said, like it kind of parallels Rand's new captivity. Meanwhile, Logain has been captive.
Months.
Right.
Because he was not really captive when they were heading to the White Tower. Or he's only really been captive since Nynaeve healed him.
Right, yeah. Before he was just, like, sad because he was gentled. Like, I feel like we don't really learn much that's new except for what you just said. Like, how it kind of parallels Rand's captivity now. But, like, Logain is just worried about, like, them holding on to him. And Egwene is also worried that they're just gonna kill him because he can channel again, and, like, what else are we gonna do with him? I don't know.
Or gentle him again. That was really, I think, the competing. Of course, there's a couple of different options. I think the Romaine pair just want him stilled, but Deanna, at the urging of Halima, wants him killed.
Right, and Egwene does say that later to Swan, I think. She says, like, who is trying to have him killed. Even Shiriam doesn't listen to Carlinia anymore, and Lelaine and Romanda are pressing for it. That, or someone really will do what Delana has been hinting at. Well, we know Delana is the most obvious dark friend there ever was.
Right.
Standing first for Egwene, like some dummy.
And she's got Halima there, telling, she has a dark friend in her ear, or a Forsaken in her ear, telling her what to do. That's one of the reasons why she's so desperate, is, like, Halima is constantly giving her directives and saying, do this, do that, without caring why. And so she's stuck into these impossible positions.
Right, don't you think someone would have caught on to Delana just being so, like, dumb? Like, so obvious? Like, it seems so obvious now that we know.
It does, but, that's the issue with the Aes Sedai manipulations, is there's so many different reasons for them to be doing things that it's very hard to figure out true motivation. And, like, this playing all sides, what is she doing? Nobody really knows.
And there's, like, a Super Skylake was like, Delana's the troll.
Right.
like the online troll. Yeah, she is.
Right. Is Mitch McConnell a dark friend? I mean, I think so, but I can't prove it.
So obvious. Yeah, one thing I did write down was how Egwene, being the good friend that she is, was asking Logain about how he's held off the madness for so long. Like, thinking about Rand and how he can avoid going mad too quickly, I guess.
Right, and we get that Logain has held it off for 6 years, which is a decently long amount of time.
So she's like, how have you done it? Like, how much chance is there that any men, also Rand himself, like, she's thinking about Rand.
Exactly.
Like, holding it off as well. Like, pretty much she's like, how did you do it? Like, what makes you so special?
And he doesn't give her any answer whatsoever.
Right. And he's just like, are they going to gentle me?
Because he doesn't have an answer.
I think he really is just more concerned and thinking like, oh, these Aes Sedai are just going to gentle me or kill me again. Or kill me again. Gentle me again or kill me.
Yeah, and the whole point of this conversation with Egwene is she is looking at this and saying, if I release him, will he go to Rand? Because I can't have him killed. I won't let him be gentled.
Do you think that maybe she feels Logain is important to Rand? Or do you think she just wants him to go to Rand so that he's not, like, roaming, quote, unquote, free?
I think the second.
Yeah. I guess I think so, too.
Just that she doesn't want him to be a random, raising an army in the hills, doing damage that way, or just, using his channeling to attack villages or whatever. Like, she wants him to be part of a unified, controlled force. And also, the one thing about the Black Tower that's really helpful is, like, if one of them randomly goes insane, ideally, the other ones around him can control and shut him down and kill him.
How much does Egwene know about the Black Tower? Like, she just knows about...
She knows about the amnesty.
The amnesty that he put out? Okay, so she doesn't really know, like, much about what's going on. She's never been there, right?
No, it's very much... It's a trusting Rand moment in this moment. She's very much trusting Rand.
She's, like, thinking about Rand, like, I need to help Rand. How can I help Rand? First of all, like, the madness, and then, like, I need to send this very strong, capable male channeler who is not mad to Rand, instead of him just being killed and wasted.
And so she needles him enough that he says, I wish I were with him now. Burn you all. I've done everything you asked for. And then her heart starts racing because that's the answer she was looking for, and that means that she's going to arrange for him to be released.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask, like, what part of what she said do you think made him the most mad? Because she goes, the hall will decide soon. Some would as soon you died conveniently. If Aes Sedai tell your tale, all know Aes Sedai cannot lie. But I don't believe you need fear that. You have served us too well for me to allow you to be harmed. And whatever happens, you can still serve and see the Red Aja punished as you wish. And it almost seems like, he, jerks up on his knees and, like, goes after her because she says, like, you can see the Red Aja punished. But I feel like the you can still serve might have, right, ticked him off.
That was very much being like, yes, you are still just a tool for me to use. And that's what sets him off. And she sets him off deliberately with that phrase.
So now she's like, all right, he's gonna go to Rand, so I'ma set him free. But wait, I'm gonna go to sleep first.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I wrote down, and I think I know the answer to this, and I'm pretty sure it's no, but I wrote down, does Logain punish the Red Aja? Like, he doesn't really do anything to...
Only through the tales he tells.
And, like, I guess you could say, like, some of the bondings.
That's fair. That's fair. I was thinking more like just by making them ashamed and the lies he tells. There's not really a good payoff for that.
Yeah, I was like, he doesn't really do much except for be a part of the Black Tower when all of the Ashaman are bonding Aes Sedai. Some of them that were captured by Rand in the coming chapter / next book.
Yeah, I mean, he actually bonds several Aes Sedai and controls them.
Well, good for him.
So he has a bit of a harem of Aes Sedai. So and some of them are red, right? So I don't. So Logain, I was looking up. Logain bonded two Aes Sedai, Tovann from the Red Aja, and Gabrielle from the Brown. You know, Logain, I would say he gets his individual revenge, but he changes, right? He no longer is so focused on the revenge aspect of his life during the last battle. Like, he's looking for power, but then that changes, and he decides to more build up the Black Tower than burn down the Red Aja.
Right. And I was going to say, like, I feel like at that point, like, why would you care about, like, attacking them or going after them when there's a lot, as Swan would probably say, bigger fish to fry? You didn't laugh at my fish joke.
Sorry.
Come on.
Well, I thought, we're not talking about Swan, are we?
No, not yet, but I made a swan joke with fish.
You made a swan joke, you did.
I made a fishy swan joke. Anyways, like, he has this whole thing against the Red Aja because they captured him and gentled him, and then he ends up bonding one of them, and I'm guessing the relationship was still good because they're bonded.
Seems to be, yeah. I mean, there was a bit of, like, the Brown tried to manipulate him using sex, and that made the Red uncomfortable, and, yeah, there's a whole...
See, they all lived happily ever after, right?
Yes.
What's the word for that? Not a conclusion, a resolution, if you will. Ah, yes. E-resolution.
We hear a little bit about her manipulation of the lords and ladies in the lands they're passing through, because as they're marching, she used Matt's force, the Band of the Red Hand, to force Gareth Bryn to move, and she used logic to force them to move in the direction of the White Tower. And now she's basically manipulating the nobles, saying, hey, there's going to be a big battle, and saying, hey, look, there's the Band of the Red Hand, and they think there's going to be a battle with the Band of the Red Hand on their land, so they join up with one side or the other. But really, all she's doing is being like, oh, and now you're my ally, and now you're part of the rebel force against the White Tower, so you better help we win. It's sort of a brilliant bit of manipulation. Yeah,
and I realized that too when I was reading this. Like, there's this whole paragraph is just talking about, like, the moment they realized Egwene's target was Tar Valon, not an army of Dragonsworn, they made those oaths to Anne Amerlin, at least. So even if, like, Egwene ended up the loser, Lyda would have realized, like, well, you were fighting for a false Amerlin, whatever. So they were like, oh shit, like, we better join and, like, fight for this little girl, because if she loses, we're dead.
Mm-hmm.
But if she wins, we can just go back to what we were doing before. I don't know.
It's just a master of escalation, right? She's able to take this force that wasn't that serious about really rebelling, that was really just trying to do everything they could to, like, maybe just censure Elida and turn it into this force that's really going to take back the White Tower.
Right. It's very smart, and it's very, this could not have been her original idea. Like, she didn't come up with this idea.
When Matt appears, that's the whole chapter where she thinks about all the possibilities. And she thinks about sort of how she's going to build her army and take over from Elida.
I just, this girl, and it points us out, this is something I wrote down, she's walking back to her tent, and she's talking about, like, the warders looking at her. She's like, at least the Gaiden did not care that she was 18 and accepted race Aes Sedai only because she was raised Amerlin. I'm like, yeah, rub it in that she's 18. She has trained with the Aiel, and she has been with Moraine, but at what point did she learn these battle tactics? Like, Matt must have told her, or, like, Matt must have suggested, like, I don't know, or, like, Gareth did.
So, some of that is from the Aiel. Some of that is she does have Suan. She's spending a lot of time with Suan as her ally. They are doing a lot of work.
Okay.
And there is this first time when they sit down where she's like, "What are your plans?" And Suan lays her plans out, and Egwene's like, "A lot of the things are along the same lines I was thinking, but there are a lot of interesting ideas there." So I think between the two of them, her experience with the Aiel, and then Suan's just experience is leading to these really pretty well laid out plans.
Yeah, it definitely makes more sense that Swan led her to this idea because, like, in no reality would an 18-year-old girl be like, I will use this army and this army to manipulate people into thinking that these two armies are going to have a war, and either army will recruit people just so that they can fight for their lands because these two army, like, what?
Yeah, there's some of that. There's also, she listened to a lot of the lectures from Moraine that Moraine was giving Rand about politics and armies and stuff like that.
And that's what I was saying, like, maybe from, like, Moraine, too, but, like, this is crazy. Like, when I was reading this, I was like, what? Like, what? This is crazy manipulation. Like, whatever.
It's brilliant. It's just trying to show how smart she is at manipulating and controlling the people. You know, we'll see more of that when she gets the war declaration. But yeah, they've got a plan to take down the White Tower, and this is part of it. Now, was it come up entirely on her own? No, she had allies, but I'm guessing the core of the idea was hers.
It's crazy to me. And I know, like, Arady and I talked about in a previous episode, like, how, like, when I was 18, I was still worried about, I don't know, like, wearing my retainer every night. Granted, I'm not the Amerlin seat, so...
These people become adults very quickly. And I was actually just talking with Travis today about how I wouldn't mind if the book series was spread out over maybe like a 5 or 6 year period instead of like a 2 year period. And like give these characters a chance to grow up so she becomes the Amerlin seat at, 20, 22 instead.
Yeah, and, like, reading this, I can't say that I remembered that she was only 18. Like, I also thought that she was, like, 20. And I was like, she was 18. I was like, wait, since when is she 18? I was like, I thought she was, like, older now.
No, she was 16 at the beginning of the series when she left the Two Rivers.
Well, so was I, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, same.
Well, actually, I was, like, -9 when the series came out, but let's not talk about it. -9 months, I mean.
Still, baby.
Okay, so, yeah, she goes to Teller and Riyadh to meet Nynaeve and Elaine.
Visits the little tower, which is where she's going to meet them.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, like, it's, like, I remember this place, like, it just seems so empty, though. I love the part about when, like, Nynaeve and Elaine show up, and they're dressed like Ebu Dari, and it says, Elaine, a startlingly deep neckline, oh my.
So Nynaeve shows up in Stout Two Rivers wool, but eventually switches to what they're wearing in the Riyadh.
I wanted to point out the marriage necklace.
Yes.
Or the marriage knife. Because, so Elaine's, it says, between her breasts, a mass of pearls and fire drops. So, yeah, like, so we know, and they know, that means, like, a lot of kids. Because we've been in Ebu Dar, but Egwene is like,
yeah, she doesn't get what those mean. But for both of them, it's like,
yeah.
Both of them are like, we want lots and lots of babies.
Like a bunch. Yeah. So, like, they're trying to do the sexy sex with their boys.
Yep.
To get a lot of baby babes.
That's basically what it's saying. Is we got girls who want to breed.
Yeah, breeding.
Yeah, breeding. Woo!
That's what girls are for, right?
Right. I mean, isn't that what you do all the time?
Yeah. So they do talk about important stuff, but like when it comes to what they're wearing, there's a point where
this is a lot of what they're wearing.
Well, yeah, and like their breasts popping out. That's important. Although we should point out that Egwene is like, maybe you should come back. Like, I'm sure you can find the bowl in a few more days, but I just keep thinking about all these stories about this dangerous place you're in. They're like, oh, no, bowl's too important. You know it is. We're
just hanging out in the palace. I mean, it's super safe in the palace. We're sleeping every night in the palace.
Right.
But you're not, and she's like, yeah, I know you're not looking for the bowl in the frickin' palace. I know you're sleeping there, but you have to leave and come back.
Mm-hmm. Right, Mother. But yeah, here, you are making use of Matt, aren't you? And then Elaine, like, notices the knife around her neck, and she's like, oh, Jesus! She's like, okay, I am a pure Puritan woman wearing a high-necked dress. No more breasts or children. And, Nynaeve does, I like how it's like, the funny thing was, Nynaeve realized what she was wearing only a heartbeat behind Elaine and reacted exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Except, maybe that if Elaine blushed like a sunset, Nynaeve blushed for 2.
And Nynaeve is definitely thinking about Lan, because we see at the end of the dream, she stops and asks about him.
Yeah. Oh, that broke my heart. Like, when I was rereading yesterday, I got a little tear in my eye. Okay, so they're asking about what the Dreamwalker said about, like, using need twice.
Right.
And Egwene is like, I haven't really talked to him, but it sounds like, no, you can't.
Yeah, she asks, is like trying to eat the same apple twice, and there's a whole thing about eating grubs rather than apples. Yeah.
Yeah. Motai, right.
And don't eat a peach because they're poisonous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, pits of, right? Aren't like peach pits in real life are poisonous?
Right, but in the Wheel of Time, the whole peach is poisonous, or at least they think they are. We get a few little details about her meeting. Amis doesn't show up because Amis said, you betrayed me, I'm not going to teach you anything ever again, and Amis sticks by that. She has towed Melaine for lying to her about being Aes Sedai, but Melaine just forgives it right away and announces that, because she just learned from Min that she was going to have twins. And
right.
So she's going to name one of the twins after Min, and declared she's going to name the other one after Egwene. So it's going to be Min and Egwene are going to be her twins.
Right, yeah, and that was cute, too.
That
and you
cute.
You guys mentioned that on, like, one of the previous episodes.
Yeah, this is just where that information comes from. A little paragraph that, like, it's very much sort of out of place, but it's like, wait, where did we get that information? And it's like,
yeah.
in this, it's sort of like, in the build-up to Dumai's Wells, we start talking about, like, babies, and baby names.
Yeah, like, well, there's war, but then there's also rebirth, so...
Lord of Chaos, one of the most epic novels. Ooh, baby names.
I'm gonna name one Min, and I'm gonna name the other one Egwene after you, because I love you. So yeah, so that they're talking about how, like, they really can't use the need thing twice. And then we shift to the important topics. Egwene, did they say anything about Rand? No! Like, bitch, he's in a box right now, and it's not your box.
Rand in a box.
It's my Rand in a box. It's my Rand in a box, baby.
Yeah, so I think the wise ones are covering up for the fact they don't know where he is. He's in Kyrian lolling about in the Sun Palace. So this is the day after he's been abducted at this point, because this is day 11, and he was abducted on day 10. This is the night of day 11. And so neither Bear nor Melaine have been very forthcoming, but Melaine muttered darkly about Aes Sedai, while Bear said something they should all be beaten. So there's sort of like, they're frustrated because Rand left, and they're also frustrated with the Aes Sedai who came and visited. So,
and yeah, like you said, like, they're just confused because, right, who told them, like, oh, he disappeared through a gateway?
That was Galena.
And then they're like, wait, what? So then, right, the maidens are like, hold on, how come no one was around to be there to go with them? Right? So they're all, like, beating themselves up, like, how did he just disappear that fast?
Yeah, but he's been doing it on and off for, like, 12 hours. The issue is now he's been gone for longer than 12 hours. It's coming on, like, 24 at this point. And that's longer than he usually disappears for. And so I think some of that disappearing is actually, like, going into the dream in the flesh.
Oh, yeah.
Where they can't follow, because we see him doing that a lot. That's how he finds out where Solidar is.
The wise ones, do you think the wise ones would know if he were doing that?
No.
Or you're just saying, like, the maidens. Like, you see, the maidens wouldn't know, but, like, I wonder if there is a way, like, the wise ones would... No, unless they saw him there, right?
We do know there is a way to detect someone who knows they're in Teleron Riyadh. We see Brigida do that. That doesn't appear to be anyone, like, that's not specific to someone in the flesh. That's just someone who knows they're there. So it could be a dreamer or someone in the flesh.
But also, Perrin married Fael.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Loyal's there too. And Min. All it needs is Matt and the three of us. And it'll be like old times. I was like, all right, Egwene, focus. I was like, okay.
And they're all about to disperse again to different places anyway. I mean, they're uniting for New Mice Wells, right? And then they go off on all their own directions after that.
Oh, yeah. There's, like, a lot of shit's about to go.
We are seeing where everybody is before that final battle.
As every book pretty much does.
Yeah, definitely.
Before the end, right?
And that's why we're getting all of these different perspective switches in this one chapter, so yeah.
And then this is the point where Elaine's like, will you tell Min something for me? Tell her I hope she can come to like Avienda as much as she likes me. I know that sounds odd. It's a private matter between us. And then it's like, Nynaeve looked at Elaine as oddly as Egwene knew she was herself. And they're like, the fuck is she talking about?
She wants to bang.
I will, of course. I don't mean to talk with them again for some time, though. Oh, that's fine. It really isn't important. Well, if we can't use need, then we must use feet. And in Ebu Dar, mine are aching right now. If you don't mind, I'll go back to my body and get some real sleep. You go ahead. I'm gonna stay.
You got the best princess voice. And it is some time before they talk again, right? That's like...
I was thinking about that. I was like, does that message ever get to Min? No.
No. And Min has already figured it out, basically, at this point.
Min is probably the most sure-headed when it comes to Rand. Like, Avienda's like, ugh, like, no, I can't. Ugh, it's awkward. Ugh. And Elaine's like, oh, I love him so much. And Min is like, I just want to lay in your lap real quick. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Min is like the cool girl.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, Elaine's got a little bit of that, like, I love him so much, but he better do exactly what I say and not fuck with me. You know, there's those two letters.
Now sit down!
Exactly. I love you. Do
now
what
give
I
me your
say.
seed. I will have your babies.
Elaine is the ultimate bipolar girlfriend.
She's like, this is gonna be a beautiful wedding if you do what I say.
Oh God, Bridezilla. Oh no. She is coming.
Yeah.
Bridezilla versus King of Kyrian. Is that? I think that movie's coming out, right? Oh, that's Godzilla versus King Kong. Sorry.
All right, let's see. Her dress had changed too, and Egwene thought she knew very well why. Yeah, we all. It was a soft blue, cut low. There were flowers in her hair, and ribbons through her braid, as there would be for her wedding back home. Have you heard anything about Lan?
The fact that Jordan loves to tell his characters' emotions without telling his character emotions, either through Perrin's sense or through like what they're wearing in Teleron Riyadh, or through just like folding their arms under their breasts, like whatever he does,
crossing their leg over their dick. Well, especially in Teleron Riyadh, like it's very easy because you know.
But I think that's what Jordan is doing. A lot of what he tries to do in his scenes is create some way to show you emotions without telling you what those emotions are. And have someone else interpret them. So it's like, oh, this other character is interpreting the scent of that character, and you then have to figure out what that means to that character to figure out what they're actually feeling and why they're feeling that way. And the same thing with dresses. You have to figure out. You don't see Nynaeve changing dresses in her own head. You see Egwene seeing Nynaeve changing dresses. And then you have to figure out how that applies. It's very like, you have to look at it from a couple of different views to figure out what exactly you're seeing. He never tells you what you're seeing.
He does make it really easy with Teleron Riyadh, though. Like, it's very obvious, at least with them, because they're not as adept as Egwene or the Io, right? And, like, obviously it sets up, like, the last point of view of the chapter, but, you know, Egwene, she's like, you know, I wish I could tell you, like, I know he's still alive, and I know he loves you, and he's like, of course he's alive. I won't allow anything else. I was like, if he's dead, I'll kill him. Like, okay. I won't let him be dead.
I'll hunt him down and take him. I won't let him be dead. So that's the last thing we get before she wakes up. And we get her verifying with Suan that the setup for Loghain's freeing is done.
So Egwene knew that she had set this up before she talked to Loghain earlier in the chapter, right?
Yeah, but I'm guessing she set it up, but it was like waiting for final approval.
But then when did she give that final... Because, like, she left Loghain, went back to her tent, went back to sleep. Like, at what point did she, like, give a signal to Swan? Or is this the signal here where Swan is like, it's all set up?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This is the moment when she could have backed out.
I guess that makes sense. She's like, am I doing the right thing? And Swan's like, you ask me?
Yeah.
Yeah, bitch! Like, what, you were the Amelin? Also, side note, tangent. So, Sophie Okonedo, like, who is going to be playing Swan in the shows.
Yeah.
I just recently watched the show Flack on Amazon, in which she plays, like, the executive of a PR agency for celebrities in London. And I have seen her in Ratchet. Like, everyone was talking about her performance in Ratchet as, I don't know if her character was bipolar, or I'm sorry if if that's not the right diagnosis, if you will. But her character in Ratchet was not very Swan-like, is what I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
But her character in this show, Flack, is very much Swan-like, or Amerlin-like. And, so, like, I don't recommend you watch the whole show. Like, it's a very specific type of show, like, drama, comedy kind of thing. Like, but her performance in it is very Swan. Like, if you just want to watch it for her performance, it just, like, gave me huge Swan vibes.
Nice.
So it's like an entertaining show if you're looking for something to watch and you just like entertaining, kind of funny, kind of dramatic, whatever. Anyways, so you ask me, Swan choked out. So Egwene just kind of talks herself into being okay with her decision.
Right.
And this is where, as I said earlier, like, she just thinks that they're going to kill him.
Do you think she uses Forkroot to make the Aes Sedai who are shielding him fall asleep? Because it's mint tea, and we know Forkroot has that minty flavor.
They will have mint tea brought to them with a small addition they shouldn't taste. So does Forkroot have a minty taste? Or does Forkroot have no taste, and it goes well with mint tea?
I think they do describe it as a minty taste when they actually drink just Forkroot tea.
So they shouldn't taste it because it's mint tea, and it has a minty taste. That's what we're assuming, because it'll make their channeling
and it'll make them fall asleep.
And yeah, they'll fall asleep. So, long story short, Logain thankfully escapes.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now, but that's what's about to happen. And one thing I wanted to say was, so this whole where Swan is kind of, talking her through her decision, do what you must and pay the price if you're wrong. Sometimes if you're right, too. And Egwene says, I think I've heard that before. Where did we hear that before? Because we did hear that before. But where?
I'm pretty sure it was in the Aiel.
It does sound kind of Aiel, doesn't it?
Oh, it's Moraine. There's a saying in Cairhien, though I have heard it as far away as Terrebonne and Saldea. Take what you want and pay for it. Suan and I took the path we wanted, and we knew we would have to pay for it eventually.
So Swan is saying that, and she got it from Moraine.
Yep.
Because pillow friends. Okay, so Egwene is like, I've heard that before. So is that kind of like a hint, like, Swan and Moraine were closer than like anyone really knows at this point in the books? Because
they're totally closer, but also just like they've both realized that they're going to pay the price for what they've chosen to do to seek and support the Dragon Reborn, and it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah.
The stilling for Suan, she is very much someone who has paid the price for making the choices she's made.
Right, well worth it. All right, so Moraine and Swan. Well, that was a nice little Moraine nod then. So then we switch perspectives to Nisau. Is that how you say it? I say Nisau.
Yeah, that's close enough. Nisau
and Myrelle.
Mm-hmm. And
Nisau is like nervous, like, if anyone finds out about
we're breaking the rules.
Yeah. Some will call it a crime. And you guys did just talk about this on one of your past episodes that was released about like the forced bonding. Mm-hmm. And how many, many generations ago it was still common and an accepted practice, and some Aes Sedai who are still alive would feel like it was still okay, or like kind of grew up when it was transitioning to being not okay. So, here we see like 400 years ago it might have been commonplace, but no one will think it is today. Whereas Myrelle's like, all right, well, shut up. Like, it's happened. Like, he's here. Get over it. But really, like, right now, all that's happening is we see Lan. He's alive.
Yeah, the return of Lan. We haven't seen him since Moraine disappeared. And in a lot of ways, you almost sort of forget about him in the beginning, because he disappeared at the end of the last book, and now he's reappearing at the end of this book. So it's like we've had the whole Lord of Chaos without Lan, while he's just been, as she says, fighting his journey in distance and blood, across Kyrian and Andor, Murundi and now Altara, through lands infested with rebels and rogues, bandits and dragonsworn, focused on her like an arrow speeding to the target, carving his way through any armed man who stood in his path. Even he could not do that unarmed. She toted up his injuries in her mind and wondered that he was still alive.
Right.
He's doing that border thing where he has to come to her, but he still kind of wants to die. So he's just like, well, there's a battle. I'm going through it.
He's like, I'm not going around it. I'm going through it. Wait.
Or can you just imagine, like, trying to go through, like, rural Virginia? To be like, I'm going through your backyard, and someone trying to shoot at him, stuff like that. Like, just farmers being like, I'm cutting across your land. No, you're not. Too bad.
Now I just picture him, like, breaking through fences. Like,
Totally.
There's fences in my way, but I'm just going through it.
Just like barbed wire tangled around his feet, and he's just, like, walking forward. Gosh, get to...
Or, like, the bear hunt just flashed in my mind. Like, we're going on a bear hunt. Like, can't go over it. Can't go under it, gotta go through it. So anyone with children who at some point were preschool aged, or a teacher or a daycare provider who was with preschoolers, most likely knows what the bear hunt is. Don't at me. That just flashed in my mind.
Certainly don't at me, because I have no
We're
idea
going
what
on
it
a
is.
bear hunt. Well, Lan is going on a Myrelle hunt.
Yes, he is. And like the Kool-Aid Man, just bursting through walls. Oh yeah, Lan's here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And in proper Lan fashion, he goes, you shouldn't have sent Noel and Croy out to find me. I almost killed them before I saw who they were. Evar, you might as well come out from behind that tree. Okay, Lan, you're so cool.
You're badass.
I mean, I love Lan. I'm just...
Yeah. He's like, I see you. Don't hide from me.
This is madness. Yeah, it is. And then cool-headed Myrelle.
Come to me. I mean, come on me. I mean, whatever. We're gonna bang.
Come to me.
There is a very rapey vibe here, because she is literally he wants to die, and she is forcing him to come to him, and then has sex with him against his will. For all that we talk about how creepy and forceful Tylan's rape of Matt is, this is worse.
Well, yeah, and that's like what you talked about in a couple episodes ago, was like the forced bonding and how it's like very creepy and like maybe not. I don't know if I would use the term rapey, but there is another term that I'm thinking of, and I can't really think of the right, like, not like manipulative, but you're forcing someone against their will, not necessarily in like a sexual way, but it's almost like you're tying them up in your room. Like you're forcing them to listen to your emotions and do what you want them to do, and sex therapy is treatment for depression. Is it a real thing? I'm sure it is.
It's not ethical.
Oh yeah, I was just reading like Super Sky Lake's comment. Sex therapy is treatment for depression.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a thing.
It might work for some, maybe not for others.
Yeah. It's...
Although, hey, back in like the Victorian era, they thought crazy women just needed to be fingered, so...
Well, if you weren't so hysterical all the time.
Exactly. There's a whole movie about it. It's weird.
And then the doctors, their wrists get tired, okay? That's all I'm saying.
I'm like so creeped out. Like the last lines of this chapter when Myrelle's like, she stared up into Lan Mandragoran's cold blue eyes. She saw death. The light help her. How was she ever to keep him alive long enough? Like, is she thinking about, like, Aes Sedai bond things keeping him alive? Or is she thinking about how often she's gonna be...
I think she's thinking about keeping him alive long enough for Nynaeve to become worthy. Because we've seen her just absolutely riding Nynaeve's ass for this entire book. And that's because ever since Moraine disappeared, she's known Lan is bonded to her. She's been feeling him getting closer, and she knows that they're in love, that there's something going on. So I think it's absolutely like, can I keep him alive long enough for Nynaeve to get mature enough that I can pass the bond on?
Right. So I have two problems with that then. So, like, the one problem is, like, how is she going to keep him alive long enough with her sexy ways? Like, she's probably like, oh, God, like, I'm going to have to do so much with this guy to keep him alive because he's just already dead inside.
Yeah.
And then the other side is, like, how am I going to keep him alive long enough for Nynaeve to have him because Nynaeve is just so young and she's not even an Aes Sedai. Like, wow, rude.
Or it might just be long enough for him to come back to being, to recover.
Right.
Right.
Either way, it's like, wow,
right, 'cause
Myrelle.
there's some triage going on here, right? She thinks that if she can keep him alive in the short term, he can recover from the effects of the Warder Bond.
Yeah, I just think about, like, Egwene and Nynaeve, like, finding out about Myrelle keeping him alive long enough, quote.
Nynaeve definitely,
like,
there's some quotes where she knows about it, and she's like, I'm not thinking about it, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just like, she knows the methods, she knows he was bonded to her, she knows he was in her possession for a while. Like, Nynaeve knows that, but at some point, like, this is pre them officially getting together in a lot of ways.
Right.
Because he's always been Moraine's. And so they were always pledged to each other, but they'd never sort of, I don't know how to say it. Like, they hadn't been banging before that point.
Like, say, Moraine should have broke with tradition and passed the bond to Nynaeve. But I feel like at the time when Moraine set it up, at that point, Nynaeve was still very fresh. Like, Nynaeve barely knew what she was doing. So Moraine was probably thinking, like, Nynaeve will eventually have him, but at this point it might be more dangerous for both of them if she passed the bond to Nynaeve, as opposed to, and this is her reasoning for it, right? Passing it to Myrelle, who is very experienced with warder bonds. And, like, she knows, like, if anyone can keep him alive, it's Myrelle.
Right.
But, like, Nynaeve probably would have been like, okay, let's die together then. I'm so sad. Like, well, I don't know.
And also, like, she set up that bond passing to Myrelle before she even met Nynaeve.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. Right.
And yeah, there is a point where when Nynaeve meets, she first gets together with Lan and they go, it's their marriage night, and he's like, my Aes Sedai can tell that and Nynaeve goes,
oh yeah, like, because they're still bonded.
Can I make sure she knows it's me? Because the bond hasn't been passed yet.
Right. Yeah, okay, I remember that. That's coming back to me now.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of time where Nynaeve and Lan are together, and Myrelle, and he's still bonded to Myrelle that whole time up until, like, the last battle.
That's just in the next book, too, right? And I think I haven't gotten there in my reread yet. Listen, like, I read all the books, and I swear to God, like, as soon as I close the book at the end, it just all goes poof, and just disappears. That's why, like, listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast has really opened my mind to all of the things that I missed and forgot.
That's why I'm doing the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast, because it helps me remember all the shit that I forgot.
Yeah.
Because I had the same problem, right? I get to the end of these books, I'm like, wait, what book did that happen in? I don't know. And, like, then you try and, like, talk it out with somebody, and you spend a bunch of, like, an hour going around in a circle just trying to establish, like, which characters are you talking about and which scene are you talking about before you can even start talking about the books that you want to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, wait, okay, so was this before cleansing or after cleansing? Like, wow.
Oh, wait, are you talking about the first Val and Luca scene or the second one? Like,
oh yeah, is this like Nynaeve and Elaine with Val and Luca, or is this like Matt with Val and Luca?
Oh shit, are we on Bail Domon's boat again? Fuck, I don't know. Oh wait, are you are you the world Bail Domon or Egwene Bail Domon?
Oh yeah, like, I mean, and when you have 14 books, like, chances are it's all gonna blend together, even if you have read it 20,000 times.
And then enough of the names sound familiar, and enough people pronounce them differently that you spend a lot of time being like, oh, yeah, I'm totally talking about, one Aes Sedai, and you're like, oh, I was talking about a different one the whole time. You get in this big argument being like, no, that Aes Sedai is not Black Ajah. It's like, oh, no, we were talking about totally different.
Like, wait a minute, there was never someone called Nelician with Matt. You mean Nalishan?
Yeah, that guy. And then you get, like, one detail wrong, and it throws everybody off, because you're like, wait, don't I remember these details? And it's like, no, that's from a different... It's hard. It's hard to have these conversations with such details. That's partially why the podcast exists.
Yeah. That's why I love it so much. Like, I don't know how many, like, when I first started listening to this podcast, and I was like, wait, what? And I was like actively rereading when I started listening too. And, like, you were already on maybe the second or third book by the time I started listening, but I went back to the beginning and I was like, all right, well, it wasn't that long ago that I read Eye of the World, and I've already forgotten this. Are you kidding me?
There's a lot in there. There's so much more in there than you think there is, even on a second or third reread. Like, I am amazed that I thought I started the podcast because I knew everything. I mean, no, but not. I knew there was holes, but like, I thought I knew a lot, and I didn't realize not only how much I didn't know, but how much I didn't know I didn't know.
Well, and like, I guess like because in a lot of the episodes you would tie things together with things that happened later, and I would be like, oh yeah, that's right, like we do first see this character in this chapter and we don't even realize it. Like, well, yeah, like when I'm reading, like I don't pick up on like minute, like, oh, like this one thread of silver in her dress was foreshadowing for, like, well, fuck off. So testimonial section. Wheel of Time spoilers changed my life. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Wheel of Time, but I didn't. Do you know the show Toast of London?
No.
It's on Netflix. It's a British, like, sitcom show starring Matt Berry. I don't remember what else he was in. He was in a couple episodes of The Mighty Boosh. But anyways, I was just watching with my friend, and it's pretty funny, depending on what kind of funny British sitcom you're into.
I tend not to gravitate towards the British humor all that often, but I do enjoy some it every once in a while.
Well, you know, like, I'm not really, like, a sitcom watcher. Like, I feel like everyone was like, oh, Schitt's Creek, like, it's so good, you gotta watch it. I'm like, I know it's good, and, like, I want to watch it, but also I'm not, like, a sitcom person. Like, I'd rather watch, like, an hour-long drama. But I watched it, and obviously, like I said, it was so good. So, Toast of London is like that. But I was about to read in his voice, so now it just doesn't make sense to anyone unless they know Matt Berry.
Well, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean they haven't.
I'll read it in his voice anyways. Chapter 52, Weaves of the Power. It's kind of ridiculous like that. For some reason, I tend to, like, throw a fake Australian accent in there at some point. I feel like I've done it on every episode.
Oh,
I don't know.
What that's supposed to be?
Well, I mean, no, I just, like, I've done it before. And who is it? I think Bambi. Bambi's always like, no, that was awful. She just calls me out. She's like, nah, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. That was, like, kind of weird British.
But that's Bambi.
So,
yeah.
Please don't listen to
that was more British, yeah.
Anyways, Canadian. What part of Canada? Because I'm kind of Canadian, being from Buffalo.
Well, I'm on my quest to go to move to Canada. I've talked about that.
Oh, that's right. You got your passport.
Yeah. Well, I'm still. That's one of the other things. At the end of after Dumai's Wells, I've got 2 weeks for paperwork, and one of the things I'm doing is I have everything I need to apply for the passport, but I haven't actually applied yet. So, about to do that.
Wait.
I got my birth certificate.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, so I needed the birth certificate to apply for the passport. So, you know how it is. It's like a bureaucratic nightmare to try and get any of this shit. And especially in a pandemic, and when I'm not doing it in a hurry. You know, it's not like I need it for anything. I just want it.
Well, I know my friend, like I was just talking about my friend who's from Vancouver, she was saying that the, like the vaccine rollout plan, she was saying, like, doesn't seem to be working, or, like, it doesn't make sense or something. And I told her, I was like, oh, interesting, because New York's plan is, like, very similar.
Yeah.
It also seems to be failing, from what I heard.
Although, again, Travis just got his second dose, and my parents just got their first doses. So Oregon appears to be doing a quite good job of rolling it out. I'm waiting for a rainy day to go down, because apparently that's when, like, no one shows up.
Yeah, but doesn't it, like, always rain up there, so...
Well, okay. Well, in Oregon, there's a difference between a rainy day and a rainy day. You know, like, of course it's always going to rain. It's always going to be cloudy. There's always going to be a bit of a mist. But that's not rain. That's just outside.
I guess that's kind of how people from Buffalo talk about snow. Like, we're supposed to get a real bad lake effect snowstorm this weekend. And some of my friends who were born and raised here are like, oh, I'm so nervous about the lake effect snowstorm. And, like, maybe we can't, like, do our friend's birthday. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's Buffalo and it snows. But also, let's not have this girl's birthday. Because actually, in Buffalo, restaurants just opened back up, like, last week. You know, like, you still have to wear a mask and social distance and stuff. I haven't been out. Well, I went to a coffee shop today during my lunch. But I haven't been out to a restaurant since everything shut down again. But yeah, I have friends who are like, they're going out every night. I'm like, well, okay, first of all, even not during COVID, I don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not, like, in a rush to go out. I'm not missing that.
No, and there are places here I could go to and sit outside. You know, the thing about Portland that's nice is, like, you throw up a shelter to protect you from the, like, misty rain, and you can sit outside all fucking winter. It never really gets below freezing, you know, so you put on a coat and gloves and you sit outside. And you can... So we've pretty much had outdoor dining this whole time, but I really haven't done that.
Yeah, me neither.
You know, maybe 5 times since in the last year, right, that I've actually gone somewhere and sat outside. Usually when the place was already empty, you know. So I've done a lot of takeout.
Oh yeah, for sure. But, like, outdoor dining in Buffalo is like everyone from here was like, why though? And then,
you can't.
Restaurants were getting called out because to create an outdoor dining space, some restaurants were getting, like, these outdoor tents, and then people are like, well, now it's not outside anymore, so right. It's just a hot mess all around. I see that in Portland a lot, where these outdoor spaces are set up, and I'm like, yeah, but when you put 4 walls on it and a heater, it's not that outdoors anymore. Yeah, like, you can put a roof, I'm good with that, and maybe, like, 1 wall. You should see LA right now. Yeah, I have a friend who lives in San Diego, and this whole time, like, all she's ever said, like, she hasn't been out, like, she has one friend, she's gone to one friend's house, but, like, she's been working from home, she hasn't been inside a restaurant for, like, a whole year, like, since last March, and, she's, every time I talk to her, she's like, yep, everything's blown up in California, like, it's crazy here. Yeah, LA's numbers are really bad. Yeah, I keep hearing, like, it sounded like California was kind of on top of the response, and then suddenly they were just in a really bad way. I think, California is almost its own country, and so it's hard to, like, look at California as a whole, because there's so many different, LA in and of itself is, like, freaking bigger than half the countries in the world. Well, New York, too, so everyone was talking about New York, like, because of New York City, and it was just a cesspool there, and then we're up here in Buffalo, like, it's not that bad here? And then it did get kind of bad, and then it wasn't as bad as New York City, but, and then there's places, like, there's so many rural places in New York, people don't realize how country New York is. Yeah, because they were, City, like, their numbers were so little that they weren't, no problems in rural New York, but... Oregon has done better than almost all the rest of the states per capita, and that's partially because we shut down hard and early. And stayed pretty well shut down. But we also have good weather for doing everything outside. And the combination makes it so that, like, we have a pretty strict governor, but also people aren't, like, completely crazy because they're not completely cooped up. They can actually get out and relax and socialize in a way that's pretty safe. I guess, like, besides Portland, Oregon is actually pretty spread out and rural, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a sort of a string of cities along the coast that are small. There's Medford, there's the capital Salem, and there's Eugene, which is a college town. And they're all of significant size, but small. And, Portland's not the biggest city. None of them would be top 100 cities in the U.S. Yeah, Portland is not a big city. No. It's a decent city. It's a nice little city. Yeah. It's got more people than you realize, actually. It's, like, walkable. When a city's pretty walkable, like, it's not a big city. When you talk about walk, I can't walk from one end of Portland to the other, for sure. I can walk around most of it, but... Yeah, I guess it depends on the person. Like, to me, walking, like, a half an hour somewhere is no big deal, but maybe to someone else, like, that's a lot, like, that's too far. But yeah, Portland has, like, 650,000 people. Oh, yeah, that's 650,000. I don't know how many people are in Buffalo. I will do a quick search. I'm sure it's more. 891,000. So 891,000. 800 to 600. So it's 200,000. You're like 30% bigger than we are. Oh, this is the city population. I'm seeing like 256,000, but that's like the actual city. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?